Scene. Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. I'm Rob Koch. We're here with Destiny O'Connor as the MC and hosts for Deaf in the Cloud. I'm here in this beautiful place. It's sunny out, a rare sunny day here in Seattle, but we are expecting rain for a few days straight. So I'll go ahead and turn it over. Hey, everyone. My name is Destiny O'Connor. I'm co-chair for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Working Group and also a full stack web developer. I'm here to learn more about machine learning and AI and introducing the other folks on the call for Science Speak. And we also have a little bit of, I guess we should say, a background here. I work for Slalom, which is a consulting firm. There's a lot of AI work and Gen AI work that's been coming into the picture with the various chat capabilities and products that are having intelligence added to them, or as we call intelligent products. So I did a talk at a big Amazon Web Services reInvent conference about Gen ASL using sign with machine learning to be able to pick up sign language and vice versa. It always seemed to me that the most successful portion of what we've seen is spelling to sign with avatars. I'm kind of curious to see more of the other direction and if machine learning and AI could recognize that in the opposite way. So kind of fascinated with that. We're going to turn it over to our guests here. We have Ryan and so it's Ryan Haight Campbell, I believe, and Jeff Scholl. Hello to both of you. Now, I guess I'll turn it over so you guys can give yourself a brief introduction, and then we can start our conversation with AI. So go for it, Ryan. Hey, everyone. My name is Ryan Haight Campbell. I am a co-founder of GoSignAI, and my partner here, Jeff Scholl. Hey, everyone. Jeff Scholl here. I'm the co-founder and head of technology for GoSignAI. My background is basically biological information and data in having an interest in helping apply signing data. The key to AI kind of here with this data is a big topic of discussion, and that will be what we're discussing today. Yeah, a little more background about myself. Jeff is saying I have worked for program leads for several different things, kind of a little bit of a side business as well, and excited to get into the technology. So I'm curious to start here. How or your company, GoSignAI, basically what it's here for and kind of the niche of it or use cases for filling in those gaps there. Yeah, sure. So Ryan here. So it started a few years back. My old company, founded in Rochester, New York, RIT, and so Rochester Institute of Technology, and it was up and running for about 6 to 8 years, but ultimately it failed. The reason behind that is was the data. We kind of learned the hard way from being able to change what happens with that data, and most of those pain points were cost related. And it seems there's kind of been some various methods of technology with different organizations out there pay for being in front of the camera for 40 hours a week signing things and getting people paid for that process that I experienced myself on paying students to sit there and do that for us. So there was a high overhead with that, and we tried to figure out kind of the processes to how to scale that up at a bigger level. And ultimately, we decided we didn't have enough of that. So me and my team tried to figure out how to reduce the cost and then being able to support other AI companies. So you know, us ourselves are not an AI company, but we're here to support other AI companies in that. Also, Jeff here, I'd like to add with that, signing all of that data, we kind of want to make that experience for the user more fun instead of just sitting in front of a camera signing. So we were trying to figure out how to do that, and we noticed that we could do that approach through gamification. So make it a more of a challenging type game, change that sort of mindset and the psychology where you can earn awards and badges, and therefore making people more excited about being able to do that. So that was kind of our concept there. So did you already have customers who were doing sign recording, storing the data, and then selling that to customers out there? Or was it, I'm just kind of wondering how making money to help make a living, obviously everyone needs to make a living. So yeah, just curious about that. We did have um, somewhat of an understanding of AI and kind of like building models and being able to, pay consumers to use that. But if, not having any revenue right now, that's kind of number one in the process of our product building. And so we go over the customer, for their intent to get this going and being able to have a data broker where we can, sell to other organizations that could use that and grow their technology to meet the deaf community's needs. Nice. Yeah, and I'd like to add also one of the challenges we had in the signing data, there's a lot of public, out there. Um, there's ASL bits that are related to Microsoft, and there's some great resources out there, but the licensing, we didn't have access to promote that through the licensing issues. So having that with issues, being able to fill in the gaps within the market, and also to add the trend here, most of the companies' approaches and their problems are decided to be in, there's nothing wrong with companies hosting their own data and not sharing with others, but because of that, IP and the cost to develop that and the AI, again, there's a lot of different companies out there that are using the same data or developing new data. And so there's kind of a conflict of resources there. So if we have a company where we're sharing the data there, instead of setting up each individual siloed data, if we could combine that all together, not necessarily like motivated to profit out of that, but then everyone could access that and making it a bridge for others to have better customer journeys and not just owning the data independently. The delivery mechanism to the market there, that would be a win. So when you're collecting the data, then what aspect of the data are you collecting? Is it personal side of things? Obviously, some of that, with the signing. What other kind of like collecting different background information behind you? Sure. Yeah, I can answer that. So the goal here is to create kind of a realistic representation of kind of that whole um, language. So being able to pull out a lot of those different aspects of the language from isolated sign, like Apple, for example, or being able to do a higher level structure, like classifiers, like a car going this way, for example, by a tree, and the tree's going by. That kind of is a very different approach from the isolated sign that I mentioned before. So more of a 3D concept there. So we're trying to use and collect prompts like if you say, hey, can you sign this sign for Apple? Maybe they'll use a sign like this, Apple or Apple. It depends on the region and the location of the signer. Maybe if they're eating cereal, And there's a lot of different things here that we want to be able to respect the diversity within the signing. Also, we have other challenges related to collecting the video data. There's one camera, so it's more of a monocular kind of view, like one eye maybe doesn't show the 3D information that we want to try to start ramping up on, and being able to augment that 3D part coming into the video. So we have these different views. So maybe that's like in front of or behind that, like I just signed now. This is really kind of hard to see sometimes in that video data. So we're really just doing a lot of efforts to improve the you know, current 3D video technology there and the nuances there. We also have a lot of, video that's being signed and from the data from Google, and maybe, you want to pull out something specific, like those media pipelines is pretty cool technology that's been out for a few years, that what Google's been working on. So the media pipeline is pretty great as far as like seeing the different visuals on the computer and trying to assign the X, Y, Z access endpoints for that. So you can see those different things there will become a little bit more of a landmark for that XYZ approach. So having kind of that XYZ access points, making it more 3D looking, but we do have a challenge related to that that I could elaborate on if you'd like. Oh yeah, Destiny, did you want to add something? I was just saying that going back to what Rob had mentioned about different colors, different backgrounds, different genders, skin types, how that is different with the culture, as well as, having the different facial expressions, capturing that language, skin color, like I said. Will 3D have any addition to that improvement, or would it be more challenging? If you could elaborate on that for a little bit, I'd like to know a little bit more about that. Yeah, sure. So the variation and the diversity is really important. Where we're approaching that is doing, there's a variety of broadcasts out there and different media types and using different backgrounds, different signing styles, different upbringings. So Ryan, I don't know if you wanted to add something here. Yeah, thank you. So um, there's, there's a lot of things going on out there with running there's another company in, the search world. Is that what it's called? Search world? Okay. Yeah, so search world, that their business here that's been around for a while. They've been partnering with various folks to they have an app that's like 72 countries included so far. So there's already 18 languages embedded in that. And so, for example, all of our uh, reach getting out there in different areas, different language, different facial expressions, like you were talking about, Destiny. So there's different, row foundations and different things in place. AI is not mature enough, but other companies have been looking into these type of things. So being new, being able to provide and leverage that, how we can bring different views from all over the world and kind of funnel that in. So that's kind of what we're looking at to solve here as well. Some other organizations out there that have, um, you know, paid services to, fix some of these things that can be a problem. And so we focus more on like the harder challenges with the AI development there. Yeah, as you mentioned before, it's kind of a open to all, collaborative, being able to access all of this market, that culture, that, what everything that is there, you can remove what you're not using if it's coming from the raw source. Yeah, and several years ago, things were being changed in the tooling for that journey. I was it was a hard lesson learned because the community, wasn't involved there. And maybe yes, maybe no. But the example, as like automated captioning on videos and things like that, 80% of it maybe is right, but the rest of it, we just tolerate. We understand what they're trying to say, but that with the signing videos, it must be 99.99% right all the time. No flexibility. It can't be like 60, 70, 80%. It can't be, that we can't release that type of stuff. So it is a challenge that any organization is working with that we see right now. So different examples are out there of making things a little simplified, but where you could have, like, if you're asking for a hamburger, you can say, okay, sure, you can use that technology, but I want to have it this way or that way, or be more specific on how you're signing it. Maybe, maybe not, but there's some things there with the accuracy that we need to keep going, and especially if it's like in real time. Um, maybe instead of 30 seconds, it's a minute, and things like that. So when you're doing recording and you have some people messaging and signing, like Apple, right? You're recording the full sentence. I'm eating an apple, and then I go to pick up something. So when you're recording that full sentence, or is it like the individual words? Sure, thank you for asking. So with this, there's two different classifications of data. We have isolated signs, just Apple, that's it. That's called isolated sign. Whereas I'm going to the store to buy an apple to eat, that is continuous level. So right now we're focusing only on isolated signs. The reason is we want to validate our hypothesis that you'll be able to use gaming technology to recruit a lot of different users from different countries and get them all in one place to kind of get that data likeness, all the variations in all the videos. For the full language, the full sentence, that will be something that we would like to implement later, but we're not doing that at the moment. Yeah, and to add here, like right now, since there's these new videos coming in, the total financial costs on principal would only be $70 so far. And so I want to explain a little bit more how that works as well. So if you download our app, you have like a weekly prize. You can sign, and the more signs that you do, the more chance to win first, second, and third prize. So there's a weekly difference for the amount, but we just started this little while ago. And so there's a place where you can, get like $20. Second place winner gets $15. Third place winner gets $10, something like that. So every week there's a paid amount if you win. So all of those videos we've done up to $72. That in the past, I remember, I'd be like paying, higher amount or whatever to students. And so that is kind of where we're having a breakthrough with our costs, I believe. No other organization can max our breakthrough with that, matching that. So we're working on that right now and trying to convince other businesses or how we can help them reduce their costs in the same way. So how many would you say, how many hours do those people play games for, watching them or using your app? Sure. So that the average user stays on the app no more than about 15 minutes, but it's really important that we have the volume of users. So I really want to, not just have like one person signing. That's impossible to have that diversity level that we're looking for. So we want to see, like the eating cereal this way versus eating cereal that way. And so being able to expand that, each session might be like 2 or 3 minutes, and that will all add up over time. So we really have a big belief in those those little small wins that will eventually benefit to continue developing that. And how many hours total so far do you think we have? Yeah, sorry, um, no, that's fine. So yeah, 72 hours if you add up all of the video, about 70 hours so far. Yeah, what's interesting there, in my opinion, I don't think that's much. It's not, but when we're looking at, for example, um, the Microsoft Open project that we were talking about earlier, there's about 80,000 signs so far. So maybe, 50 hours and other videos and things like that that are out there. There's a lot. So, um, but like I love using this example with Apple Siri on your phone. Everybody just can speak that audio file is going to the Apple server. And so you can imagine that pipeline. There's a lot of things every day. People are using that. And, the amount of data is quite small, like size wise. And so I feel like if, everybody's using that with in regards to KPI, it's closer to that, like, yeah, over 2 years. I mean, that would add up to be a lot. Um, so yeah, right now I think we're having, you know, a fair amount of users, and it's not really about that. We would like to have the diversity within the countries coming in for, 15 minutes playing it, leave. Um, you know, we want it to be a little bit more diverse and as diverse as possible. So a little kind of off point, but I'm wondering if it's possible to focus on the game if you could make a living with that, just throwing out a bunch of signs. Yeah, so it's interesting because several years ago with my old company, they paid people to sign in front of a camera and gave them, a job on the side, but two big flaws with that model. First of all, most of the money came from venture capitalists. So venture capital coming in there, meaning the investors are investing to pay folks to gather new data. But in reality and how a business runs, it's not going to be, all venture capital. Some of it is going to be bootstrap, like we call ourselves bootstrap. We've come up so far with a lot of that. So kind of how that, you're paying people to do that. It's not sustainable. The concept of paying for signing um, is kind of forced in that way. So it comes from investors, that money to cover. It's funny if you raise like, 600,000, but you burn through all that money and you still can't afford, like looking back at it, this AI success here really to help with hearing companies catching up and trying to figure out how they can scale that. So, with Apple is not paying people to use Siri, right? So with Siri, it's just there and people are using it, right? Exactly. So I've struggled with that a little bit. So it's like kind of that fine line. In one way, yes, but also the form of a job in another way, not necessarily. That venture capital was coming up, it's kind of a temporary thing to kind of set everything up and building that kind of career from there. We were struggling with that. So things we've already tried in the past. So now with round two, we've decided to take a different approach. We are understanding the audience, and most of our users understand for first, second, third place winners. They're not signing for the AI tool necessarily. It's just giving that kind of mindset that we're riding on, if that answers your question. Yeah, I've always worked in data engineering and things of that nature. We're always talking and emphasizing about data being new oil or data being equivalent to gold and these different commodities. So that's where AI is coming into, or that's where your GoSign AI is coming in. um, with data being as big as it is, the challenge for any company, even hearing companies out there, maybe they're working with travel agents, or they're booking a cruise or an airline ticket, and they need that data to kind of predict what people will buy in the future or what they'll sign up for in regards to that. And is a lot of data, uh, a sheer number of data. The more they have, the better accuracy they have with those predictions. So where you said 70 hours worth, that's that's a long process, a long way to go, but I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, and to add, there's some other companies out there that uh, have different like if you were talking about the different things here in the data dump, having all of that there owned by investors doesn't mean it's equivalent to a company that would, have the successes or failures related to the data because it might be more of a black hole. So really trying to find that middle ground where you can bring data in that's ready and available for, doing some research on my own data. For example, Jeff found an organization that he'd reach out to purchasing the data, but, it felt like it wasn't um, necessarily the quality there. So looking around and trying to figure out, you know, having the more specialized companies versus the ones that are having issues collecting and the AI development. They're two very different problems. So companies are trying to solve for both. Destiny, do you have any other questions? I have another one, but I want to check with you first. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So your message before Apple and collecting signed data. Um, so with that, yeah, so I can explain that. Okay, let's see. So yes, some are, and for example, Intel is partnered with, some other companies that I absolutely love, and have some breakthrough technology there that's coming one way or another. So it's really exciting to look at. There's a few others, but not enough organizations out there, in my opinion. They're trying to count, on one hand, basically, and that's it. So we need a lot more organizations to attack that problem. So this company's hope is to collect that data as well for the signed data and sort of be wanting to see that. So yeah, it's a complicated topic. Yeah, some companies are new, but for those, whereas some are as well, distributing that information. Like we mentioned with Google, they've recently had a competition for some really cool things going on. Their end goal is to distribute that knowledge to the public. Like Microsoft, similar. There's some different programs that they are hosting, and all the data is out there in the public. There's pros and cons to that too. Um, in my opinion, there's a lot of pros, but if you have an open source outlet there, the challenge is it might not be enough. Like we were saying, 70 hours is not enough, right? And the licensing, right? And if you're crowdsourcing the language, you have to show, it's not bringing enough data in the past. So we need, 10 or 20 more companies to be doing that to get the hours that we would need. So that's kind of the method that I'm seeing here. And how are others, or how can others like us help collect that data? So other strategies out there, maybe thinking about pursuing things other than gamification. Are there other strategies that could be implemented, or what are your thoughts? Yeah, so gamification is very varied pathway. It's not full, it's test in process and things are getting matured over time. But gamification helps us giving a lot of feedback for the product. We can see how we can improve that experience for the users and make it more enjoyable and, kind of seeing how that will impact others. Yeah, and I would like to add too, we want to also to have different active language where people would have the knowledge of the context of their own language and then have that to help create the networking side of things. Maybe they know someone knows that language and culture versus, then that could be driving us to develop and improve our app. One thing I'd like to add to Jeff is that one user, I believe in Mexico, I might be wrong, but was looking for something like there's this sign for Mexico, and there are language ambassadors for kind of fact ruling our system. So making sure the right words are being used, the right language style and everything. Yeah, exactly. The famous computer science and data science there, these things that happen. So that's a kind of a common phrase that we want to make sure that we have high quality data as well as things that are related to it as well. And to add, really, most of our users so far, you know, they see these things and they don't know necessarily how to frame with the right lighting, so the video doesn't turn out as great. That's where we have to go back to the onboarding process, have a little bit better instruction of how to record your video. And that's why we haven't really partnered with a business organization yet, but we wanted to figure out kind of how to do that. So there's some things there that we need to see. And so people are giving us good data. It's sometimes two people, it's interesting, right? Because an example of two people coming and we don't want to have that be allowed because then it's all of the video, the people may not be in the frame. So I think we need better instructions. So that will be a level of detail that we need to improve and tweak a little bit. So you can use machine learning on your end then to kind of clean up and add more lighting, maybe make the picture clearer. What about the camera in and of itself that people are using? So if you're using something to record, most cameras would be like 24, 28, 29 frames per second, right? So if you had a higher number, like 60, 70, 120 frames per second, like, a soap opera, maybe moving around, kind of it makes you a little bit nauseous sometimes when the frame speed isn't good? Or would you like to keep it with kind of your regular webcam capabilities? So yeah, the best device and the best camera that we already have is in our pocket, our phones, right? So you can't ask all the users to, hey, can you buy this special super fancy camera that we can handle, 120 frames per second? We can't ask our users to do that. So we have to work with what we have. And I think that if we're using machine learning to take that, video in 2D and then, know kind of that third dimension. But if we could augment that 3D information into the video, then we'll have a better variety of scenarios, things like this that, background and different lighting and out of the frame, siming that way. So, but those are real life situations that we have to compensate for and think about that. Yeah, and thinking about stuff in the past with different cameras and different things that, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah. So like where your eyes are looking, like 3D printed phone versus like, something else. One of the things that I've learned there, scale. You get a point to where you're accessing what you already have, like you said, with the phones. But of course, in the future, we might have more fine tuning capabilities there. For example, if a customer says we need this, and this with the data. We say, okay, then we have to tweak that pipeline a little bit. If they want us to focus on food, and maybe they want 3 months worth of that, then we can tweak our gaming app to ask for different types of food for the input. So approach for our customers that to meet their needs. And if I can throw out there too, so you're using that game, and I do a lot of like let's say the data, how some of the companies are asking kind of, what are you watching on Netflix? What are you buying on Amazon? What are you buying on that? So could you collect a little bit of data like that, $10, $20, $100 for that input of information? A lot of deaf people who already use TikTok, YouTube. Is there a way that they could put their video, like they've already had something signed, that content has already been developed on their different accounts? Or would that be too much of a conflict with the other companies like YouTube, TikTok, and all of those on social media? Like they're using their Instagram. Would they be able to input that? And would you be able to collect the data to get an idea of like what I could do for myself if I was just making, like if I wanted to make like $20 or something? I think from my perspective, with that, we'd have to get consent. Um, yeah. So so like downloading what you already have, for example. So like scrab and grab kind of a thing we might have done some might have done in the past, but the technology has improved there too. So with the concept of data mining, I look at that like mining data that's already out there, but that's